if you take any subject, the most mundane subject, but look at it in a lot of detail, anything can become fascinating.
You're listening to With AI FM.
Hello, welcome to Women with AI, the podcast dedicated to amplifying the voices and perspectives of women in the field of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm welcoming someone who sees AI as key to unlocking the creativity we haven't even dreamed of before. She's passionate about the UK's creative industry sector, and before we jump into finding out exactly what it is that she does, let me tell you a little bit more about her. Emma Wharton-Love is the co-founder and chief Get Stuff Done officer at Spark, an AI consultancy for creative and marketing teams that helps clients unlock the power of AI with expert AI workshops and coaching. Before Spark, Emma spent her career focused on the future of work, from leading on hybrid working for Parliament and government and 15 years as programme director in architecture and major construction projects at HOK and House of Commons. She was also an advisor at Lendlease and GoSpace, an AI property technology startup. Emma is also a graphic designer and co-founder of We Are the Loves, employer branding agency with her husband Jules Love, where they first started using generative AI in creative and business processes. She now powers operations at Spark, which was set up with her husband, Jules, to support creatives and marketers and help them transition to the new future of work using AI. At Spark, Emma is focusing on developing brilliant relationships with clients and ensuring they're adding value in the quickly moving world of AI. Alongside running Spark, Emma is a non-executive director of an NHS mental health trust, which she described as the biggest privilege and incredibly rewarding way to focus her skills and knowledge and attention. Emma Wharton-Love, welcome to Women with AI.
Oh, thank you so much. Such a nice introduction. You put it so much more eloquently than I could.
It's great to have you here. And I love the fact that you describe yourself as Chief Get Stuff Done Officer. I think more people need to have that job title.
That is so my role. And making sure stuff happens. There could have been a different word in the middle there, but I didn't think it was right.
Brilliant. Well, let's kick things off by getting to know you even better. Can you tell us, please, about your journey into AI and maybe what initially sparked your interest? What I've done there.
Well, so I've had a very squiggly career, which I hope gives confidence to other women out there who have squiggly careers too. But I think when I look back on it, the kind of common denominator is what you said, that I worked in the field of the future of work the whole time. So I'll just sort of recap a little bit about and put a bit more colour on what you talked about in my bio. But so I started off as a strategy consultant working in architecture, working with clients like The Guardian and American Express. And my role was to really work out how people would work in new buildings. It was when everyone was moving to sort of funky Google style buildings. Um, so that was where my first sort of taste of it. And then I moved into looking at into government actually, and worked in the cabinet office and worked with the British Standard Institute and set up the first kind of standard for what's called smart working, which today we'd call hybrid working. And then moved on through and worked at Parliament and did similar work there, where I led hybrid working and also developed the plans to move Parliament while they would relocate. That was a bit of a side, what's the right way to describe it? I kind of can't think of the right term, Joe. Friday, my head's
Side
gone.
hustle? Side project?
It wasn't a side hustle. It definitely was a major hustle, but
I
it
guess
was a
no one else was
deviation.
doing it then.
Perhaps
Was
a
it before? Was it
deviation.
pre-COVID?
Yes, pre-COVID, as a deviation. And then, so after COVID, set up We Are the Loves. And that's what really brought me into looking. And We Are the Loves was the employer branding studio that you mentioned, which I set up with Jules, my husband. And he has a background as a commercial photographer and a management consultant. And as a management consultant, he specialised in the organisation design of marketing functions in corporates, actually. So, and then I had a graphic design background as well. So I thought it was a great idea in my early 30s to retrain as a graphic designer in the evenings while I was working at Parliament. So I ran a design studio for the previous 10 years as well. That was my side hustle. And And we started a couple of years ago. We started using a lot of AI in We Are the Loves. We're a really boutique, small agency, and we realised we needed to be able to punch above our weight. We needed to be really smart about the tools that we used, and then realised that a lot of the people we worked with other creatives, weren't using AI in the same way, and they started asking us about it. So we decided to use more AI, informally tell people what we're doing and give hints and tips. And then Jules went and studied applied AI at MIT last year as well. And then all that together meant that we decided to pivot our business towards being an AI consultancy to help other creative agencies like we were. And that's when Spark was born, I guess. So it's kind of that lovely confluence of what is the future of how we work and how we spend our time and how we are happy at work, which is my real interest. And then Jules's interest is the kind of technical side of it, and which comes from, photography is a very technical skill. So yeah, that's how it was born.
Oh, I love that. It just goes to show it's never too late to change what you're doing or follow your dreams, change your dreams, just add a new string to your bow. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think now more than ever, you need to keep keep adding new skills. It keeps stuff in. I mean, I'm one of
Yeah.
those people that enjoys having lots of different phases in their life rather than having sort of one way of doing things all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it depends on what makes you happy.
Yeah, and just embracing everything that's sort of happening right now. I think it's it's really important. I mean, maybe can you tell us about the role of sort of AI tools in the creative process and what sort of impact this has on business models?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe if I talk about like the kind of macro view of the kind of
Yeah,
change it might have on business models first.
yeah,
And I
sure.
think like a really way that I think about it is we've kind of been through this before. I think AI is going to transform creative businesses in a similar way to like the internet transformed creative businesses and transformed all our lives. Like if we
Mm,
just think back to, say, let's think about Amazon 30 years ago. They were this like terrible website that we would think it's hilarious now, and they just sold books. But actually, they've completely changed our lives and how we shop, how we communicate, how we access services. And I think AI will do a similar thing to all our lives, not just to creative agencies. It will like streamline processes, it will create new opportunities that we never really thought about, or perhaps we even dreamt about but couldn't get there. Um, and it will allow us to be like more creative. And I think like what I mean by that is, so in an agency context, AI can enable us to streamline tasks and processes, making like the sort of routine work that we do, we can systemize it, and AI can do a lot of that heavy lifting for us, which means it frees up time to do the more interesting work. Um, and it frees up time to think of sort of higher value, more creative activities and focus on innovation rather than focus on the kind of like turning the handle type tasks that we sometimes find ourselves doing. Um, and I think sort of connected to that, it raises like the bar for us to push ourselves to develop even more original ideas, because AI is trained on all the ideas that have already ever existed before, and it can
yeah,
smash them together to come up with new iterations of them, new versions of them, but it's not coming up with brand new stuff. So that's the role of us, to reinvent ideas in a and come up with new ideas as humans rather than looking back at the past in quite the same
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Um,
I think that's
yeah,
because it's lots of people think, oh, is it going to take the creativity away from us? But I think you're right. It's freeing up the time. I mean, that's the whole point of using a tool, isn't it? It's to make your life easier. And as you say, if it's freeing up the time for the humans to come up with new ideas, because you're right, because AI is just predicting, it's doing, it's using everything that's been fed into it before. So yeah, how does it come up with something new? Can it come up with something new? Do we want it to come up with something new? Or is it, as you say, it's just mashing together what already exists, whereas you need that kind of creativity yourself to sort of do that. And how
I
do
think
you
so.
how do you train sort of creative agencies to do that? Is it just sort of changing the way they think and like making sure they're not scared of it and that it is an opportunity? Or
Yeah,
how do you see it?
that's a really big part of it actually. We've done some research, and sort of we've done some research with people that we haven't worked with before, sort of industry research, but also the kind we've every time we work with an agency, we we survey them about how they're feeling now and what are the kind of main blockers. So, and what comes back time and time again, really from everyone, is that the kind of two things. The biggest thing holding them back from using more AI is that they just don't lack not kind of lack of understanding of what the tools can do, and that's generally because everyone's so busy like delivering work, you don't have time to engage with it, and it takes um it takes time to practice and to learn and to know how to get the best out of the tools. It's really easy to kind of to have a quick play around with something. You kind of you you're talking to it because you talk to it in natural language. You tend to think you can just sort of give it a sort of 5 word prompt and it will give you the perfect thing back. Um, but actually there is a technique to it to get the best out of it. So I think it's really easy for that lack of understanding to mean that it's not used. But also, like you say, I think there's still loads of fear, a sort of existential fear that AI is coming for creative jobs. And I hear that term so much, and it's not right. And I think whoever started that phrase has got like loads to answer for.
Yeah, definitely.
It's yeah.
Terrifying the people that should be using it.
Yeah,
Because the other
definitely.
thing, when you start reading about OpenAI and all these things, and all governments are going to use it, and someone's going to create, some like war machinery, and if we don't do it, someone else will do it first, and then you're thinking, oh God, then we're going down, what was it, the film that was out, what Oppenheimer, and they're just, if
Yeah,
you
it goes
watch
to
that, it was like,
despair.
well, we need to do it first because someone's going to do this really awful thing that we've thought of, so we need to make sure that we do it first before they do. And it's like, maybe we just use it, well, in this sector anyway, creatively to do good, to free us up to be more creative. It's like having an intern. That's how I've heard
Yeah,
it described before. AI, it's a tool. You might run some ideas by it, and as you say, if you gave the intern or the graduate, here you go, here's just like 5 sentences, can you do something, they'd be like, what? Well, no, I don't know the background, I don't know what you mean, what style do you want it in? And it's
exactly
treating it
that.
like that to
Yeah.
give it that information. And I guess, Jules, as you say, was a photographer. I mean, back in the day, people were terrified when digital cameras came along. Oh, it's going to ruin, the creativity and the artistic nature. But actually, you've got to embrace it. I mean, people still
Yeah.
love developing film, but
Yeah.
you use the tools that you've got.
Yeah, and I think that's a brilliant analogy, and we use that quite a lot because, there's not going to suddenly not be a place for handcrafted um, design or any other creative that comes out, and perhaps that will become more high value. But if you don't understand how to use AI and how it could be brought into your process, then I think you're really missing a trick. So I think when we work with agencies or in-house creative teams, we kind of are we have a the first thing we always do is have a half day workshop, and it's partly it focuses on how to get the best out of the tools, but actually the main emphasis is like really showing the facts about AI, demystifying it, and sort of and opening people's eyes as to how much of a kind of epoch change it is and how much is being invested in it, but also that we've been through this stuff before. Like we went through the internet um, becoming a thing, and we've adapted and survived, and we're different type of designers or strategists or account managers than we would have been then. And then we work through the creative process and exactly how AI could be integrated at different stages of the creative process and what tools are out there right now to look at as well. And we recommend different tools, but of course those new tools are coming out all the time. So that's something that isn't going to stand still. And then
Oh,
I
that's
think
great. And
what's
I guess,
really
oh, go on.
also, I was going to say, I think what's really important is like just showing inspiration about what other people, what like real campaigns out and real brands out there in the wild that are that have used AI and have used that lovely that combination of human and the AI in turn collaborating to get a really great result.
Brilliant. And because you've worked in some fascinating sectors, from major construction to Parliament, which not everybody would find fascinating, but you had a really good line about that that you said, and I don't want to steal it, and I'll probably get it wrong, but you said if anything that you do enough research on. What was it? What was the line you had?
Oh, I was listening to an audiobook yesterday, and it was a line in the audiobook. It was just it's a novel, the new Matt Haig novel. I've forgotten what it's called, but
Oh,
it's really
oh,
enjoying it. I really
yeah.
recommend it. But
Oh, I love him.
in the novel, the lead character says, if you take any subject, the most mundane subject, but look at it in a lot of detail, anything can become fascinating. And she was actually quoting someone else in the with that quote, but I really loved that quote. It's so
Yeah.
accurate, and yeah.
Yeah.
And when I looked at Parliament or things in enough detail, they are fascinating, and they they were
Yeah.
great stages of life for me.
And because you've done all that, as you say, then you're able to then pass all that knowledge on and understand where businesses and creative businesses industries are coming from, because you've seen it from all sides. So, I mean, AI, it is moving really quickly. How do you stay on top of, of emerging technology like AI when
Yeah,
it's
it's constant. Yeah. So I think, but it's like, but that's kind of what Spark is here for, is to keep on top of it and then to
yeah,
assimilate the information and like curate it so that um when we're talking when we're passing that on, it's like only the information that creators really need to know, because there's like so much AI noise out there. It's crazy. If you scroll through LinkedIn, I don't know if it's just me, because I'm talking about AI a lot, but nearly everything is about AI on my LinkedIn feed. um but so we unusually, for I guess a company like ours, we dedicate a lot of time each week just to research. So there'll be at least a full day where we are just keeping on top of the tools and using them and testing them. And like, as creatives ourselves, we test what we test the pros and cons of all the different tools so that we can advise others about, like, this tool is great for I don't know, like facial features if it's an image generation tool, or this other tool is much better for copywriting than that one. And so we keep on top of that. But there are some really great um, newsletters and things people can subscribe to, as well as ours, of course. But my top tip would definitely be to subscribe to the Neurone, which I don't know if you subscribe to that,
oh
Joe, but
yes, yes, I do, yeah.
yeah, it's really concise, and like um, it's a lovely, entertaining read as well as being really interesting.
Yeah, I do like it. It kind of stands out when you get it in your inbox, because, like you, doing this podcast, trying to learn as much as I can. I did sign up for lots of newsletters in the beginning, and now I'm like, oh my goodness, there's too much. Like
Yeah,
every
there's
day.
so much.
How
Yeah.
how can you stay on top of it? And actually, I found, because you have your update. Is it a monthly update that you do? I think it is, with Jules, and it's what's new in creative AI. And I was listening to your
Yeah.
most recent one before speaking to you today, and I was like, oh, I didn't know about the mango advert. I didn't know about this. I didn't, some of the things I'd heard of, but then it also made me think, oh, I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about, because you were talking about the same things that I sort of wanted to know more about. So can you tell us a bit more about that? Because I love the fact that you can spend a day researching it, but that is your job.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least a day a week, and it is our job. And yeah, so a lot of that research it feeds directly into our training that we do with creative teams. And so that training, like, we are updating it every week, so it is like the so it's the most recent, most relevant information. But so and we feed that, as you say, into our what's new in creative AI, and we run that at the end of every month. It's every month at the moment, but we're thinking of making it more regular, because there is a lot to get.
Yeah.
A lot happens in AI in a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you
yeah.
should, just because it's really useful. So I'd
Okay, good.
appreciate it.
That's good feedback. Good to know. But the other thing that we do, which I think is really key, is we spend a lot of time just out there talking to creatives about what they're doing, and also collaborating with creative consultancies to talk. So right now we're doing some work with an agency called Big Fish. They are if you look at their website, they work with a lot of food brands. You might look in your cupboard after this, and you'll realize that most of the brands in your cupboard are designed by Big Fish or created by Big Fish. And they're doing some really interesting stuff with Midjourney. So we're working with them to understand how their designers are really using Midjourney and for practical sort of end creative use. Because a lot of these tools are brilliant in the creative process and for ideation and for concept development, but sometimes you take them that far, and then you might shoot the end photography in real life. But they're doing some work with clients where the Midjourney photography work is the end product. That's so interesting. We're also doing some work with a brilliant AI automation expert too, because the AI tools in the creative process become like super powerful once you join them all together, and that's when they can really you can really automate things, and you can develop agents that actually do a job for you that you would normally do in your role, but it's perhaps something that is, like I was talking about at the beginning, like really routine, and it's like the same thing every time. So you can send your AI intern off to do it. So we collaborate with a lot of people who are like deep experts in one specific thing to understand what they're doing as well.
And on a sort of personal level, kind of, do you and Jules, do you approach it differently, would you say? I mean, do you have sort of different views on AI?
I don't know if we have I don't think we have different views. I think that would be tricky running a business together about AI if we had really different views.
No, it's scary, don't use it.
Yeah, exactly. But we do use it differently, for sure. I am neurodiverse, and Jules is neurotypical. So trying to think of the right word. And so I think that means that we use it a bit differently, and also we have very different roles in Spark. So Jules focuses on all the training materials and keeping those like absolutely up to date, and I'm focused more about internally in the business and developing our services and business growth. So we kind of use it for different things in that way. And so Jules will be testing the like image generation tools or the new video to video tool that Runway has launched, and he'll be spending a lot of time doing that, whereas I'll be doing more business process stuff. But I'll tell you about what I do, because that might be really useful to some people.
Yeah.
So before we went live, I think we talked about AI meeting assistants, and
Yes.
I was saying how I use TLDV, but there are loads of other ones. And they're all very similar. But I use TLDV to record all my meetings. And you can tell it how you, and it records it has a full transcript, and then it summarizes it as well, but you can tell it how you want it to be summarized. So over the summer, I did a whole heap of market research. I did 30 interviews with creative and marketing leaders, and I wanted to like pull out the key trends from that. So as well as summarizing the individual meetings, I asked it to look at the trends, the opportunities, the pain points, that kind of thing that came out in each interview. It summarized each, and then it emailed it automatically at the end of the meeting to me and the person I was interviewing. But also it has an ability to analyze across all the interviews at once, on whatever parameter I want it to look at, and then it gives me all the timestamps of all the videos. Just click on go back and like listen to the verbatim thing that they said. And I think that would have doing that sort of research, that R&D project, it would have taken me 2 weeks perhaps to do that, and I had a very quick first pass in like an hour or two. So it wouldn't be like my final research report, but it gave me a really good flavor of what the sentiment was. And then I use it for loads of other things. I have quite a lot of custom GPTs. I don't know if you use those, Joe.
Well, I've got a friend, and Nadio, he wrote 100 GPTs in 100 days. I can put a link to him.
Was that a personal
in the show notes? It was, and he continues anything that you do, any problem, any issue. He's started doing a podcast as well, education with AI, and he has got a GPT for everything, and he keeps sending them, and I haven't had time to look at them all yet. So, and I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know you could create your own, which seems obvious now, because obviously you want to tailor it to what you need it to do. I've just sort of, asked questions on the same ChatGPT sort of thread to sort of
Yeah.
try and mold it. But no, yeah, tell me about all the ones that you've been using.
Yeah, so I set up a few. So I've got one which is my marketing advisor, which is great. I don't come from a marketing background, but I do. I I lead all the marketing for Spark, so that's super helpful. So any marketing questions, I go straight there. I've also got a business coach, which is great, a
Wow.
GPT business coach. And I took all my um kind of my favorite business coaches out there, or sort of top voices of business people, and trained it on what they talk about in their books,
Wow.
so that I can ask specific questions and get advice from it. I also have a proposal writer and grant writer. Like we got a
Wow.
grant, a government grant from Innovate UK, that we're working on at the moment, which was to do with that research that I mentioned earlier. But trained a GPT on all my grant applications, so that if I can then ask it, what did I, or I don't know, what month did I say I was going to do this activity in? And then it just tells me, rather than having to go through all my Excel sheets and my project plans and things, I can just quickly ask it.
Wow.
Yeah, things like that are really helpful. Also got a tone of voice converter. So if I write
Oh my
something
goodness.
myself, I then put it through my Spark tone of voice converter. It's not perfect first time, and I'm sure it would be much better if I spent time refining the GPT, but it saves a load of time getting it 90% there.
And is it
So there's
quite easy to
loads.
do that? Like, how do you start doing that? Is there like a step-by-step guide, or is it just using, ChatGPT to sort of start it off? How does it? Can you tell us how
So
it works?
yeah, so to set up a custom GPT, you need to have, actually no, you don't anymore. You used to need to have a paid for plan, but I think you can do it on a free plan as well now. But when you go into the GPT window and click on custom GPTs, you can actually, there's an instruction box where you fill out the instructions for the specific GPT you want to build, and you can upload documents that you want it to refer to. So like my tone of voice converter, I gave it all the details of the really specifics of the Spark tone of voice, like a copywriter would do for you if you commissioned. So my copywriter gave me a tone of voice, and then I uploaded that to the GPT, and I gave it lots of examples to draw on as well of what good looks like, and and then a set of instructions of how I wanted it to use those. But when you go in to set up your GPT, there's another Chat GPT window in here. I don't know how many times I can say GPT, by the way, but
We're not
about
sponsored by
1,000 times.
ChatGPT, don't worry.
I know,
Yeah.
but basically,
I wish we were.
there's a chat there's a, yeah, that'd be great. There's a Chat GPT window in there that gives you helps you build your GPT. See what I mean? There's like,
I'm
you've
so
got
going to
your
have a play with
GPT
this
assistant
later.
in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It is fun. I can see why your friend has built 100 in 100 days,
Yeah.
because it's a bit addictive.
Yeah, and I guess the important thing, as you said, is to go back and refine it and to do it. And then really it's just like being able to access that part of your brain that, well, when was it I said that? What did I say I'd do again? And you're right, instead of having to trawl
Yeah.
through all the notes, it's kind of there. It's like having it's a personal assistant. And that's the dream, isn't it? I think for lots of people with AI, you want to have a personal assistant or an AI that kind of knows you enough to be able to just prompt you or tell you, but it's us feeding it the information. It's using
Totally.
that,
Yeah.
as you say, to save time and make it easier to
Yeah.
just to do things.
The other thing that's really good for like jogging, or for like, rather than trying to have to trawl your memory, is I mentioned it on the creative, what's new in creative AI yesterday, is Google Notebook LM. And that's really good if you just want to look through like just a really specific set of data, so it doesn't search the internet, it just looks at the data you've given it. And you could put, I don't know, all your meeting notes in there as an alternative to using something like TLDB, and you can then search back for whatever you want, or ask it to you can ask it any question about it, basically, or that you want it told back to you in a different way. Oh, and the big difference about that one is it will speak it back to you.
Oh.
So it turns any information you've given it into a podcast of two people discussing that information. So
Wow.
so you can then access that information in a way that is quite easy. It's very easy listening and accessible to listen to. So because I'm quite dyslexic, I really prefer to listen to stuff um, compared to reading a long document. And so
Yeah.
for me, listening to a podcast about a document is
That's
is really
incredible. So,
much better for me.
yeah.
It's
And
very
you
cool.
could do your work. You'd be sitting at your desk. You've done all the writing. You've done all the reading. Oh, you just want to go outside. You stick your headphones on or earbuds, and then you can actually just listen to it. Or, while
Yeah,
you're making a cup of tea, go to the kitchen and sort of
yeah,
have that. I think that's amazing. See, these are all the things that I need to learn about, or I want to learn about. And I think, hopefully everyone that's listening wants, if they don't know already, it's these kind of bits of information that just is so exciting. Because I was at an event recently that was about AI. It was called AI at CAM. So it was about Cambridge, the University of Cambridge, but also sort of local government and that kind of thing. But again, it was the time that it saves, so having to read through documents to kind of, work out, there was one example that it had taken, I don't know, 40 weeks or something of work to read all these documents and go through it. Whereas, the goal when they start using the AI tools is to get it done in 2 weeks. And it's just
wow. Think what you could
phenomenal
do with that
how,
time.
yeah, what more you can do. And it's not about getting rid of people or taking people's jobs. It's actually freeing them up, like you say, to be more creative or to have time to do their job
Or
and
to
do
do the
that. I mean,
nicer work, do the more
yes,
enjoyable
yes.
work. Yeah,
Yeah, I want an AI assistant that's going to do the housework.
yeah, me
And
too.
then I can do all the fun stuff. Well, it's going to write the report, do all this. They've listened. It is. It's that intern again, isn't it? Someone's there. They've been with you, and they go, "Oh, can you just write that up, please? Write that down." While I go
Yeah,
and do something much more important.
yeah.
It's all moving so quickly. What excites you or scares you? What do you think the future of AI holds?
Um, I think for creatives, I think the future. Um, it's very hard to predict the future in AI because look how much it's moved in the last uh, year. I
Of
mean,
week.
3 years ago we didn't talk about it
Yeah.
really. Yeah, exactly. So, but I think looking sort of a short term ahead, I think the future really belongs to people who blend AI and human ingenuity. Some of the really interesting creative that's coming out is a really interesting blend of kind of AI and lo-fi kind of creativity as well. Um, and I think that's really interesting because it just it challenges us as creatives to start to think in a different way as well as the way that we always have. So I think it's intellectually really interesting. So I'm excited about it in that way. Um, but personally, I'm someone that's always a bit scared of the unknown. So as I think many of us are. So I think but I find it much more assuring to learn about it and really know where we're at and what's going on and what's possible than then put my head in the sand.
No, I love that. So, for anyone that's listening that would also like to do that, sort of learn more and dive deeper into the world of AI, what sort of resources or communities would you recommend people explore? As well as we'll put a link to your your blog as well. But yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
thank
go on.
you. Well, yeah, definitely the Neuron, I suggested earlier, that newsletter. Like you say, Joe, don't subscribe to all of them because then you'll end up reading none of them. There's,
That's so
um,
true.
yeah. Um, we On our website we have a load of events. They're not all ours. Some of them are ours. Some of them are just events we're at. So that's a really one place resource to take a look at. So from our point of view, every month we do a free introduction to AI for creatives and marketers. And next one's on the 30th of October. Um, and you can register on our website or through LinkedIn. Um, and then every month we also do the What's New in Creative AI. And in terms of networks, tonight I'm off to, I live in the Southwest. Tonight I'm off to London to an event. I think it's just called Creative AI Network, which is pretty cool, which has someone from LTX, which is a studio that is looking at consistent, it's hosted there, and they're looking at consistent characters and image generation at the moment. They've got a new tool that's out. And so there's going to be a lot of people. It looks like a really packed event, and I think it's only the second one that they've held. So it
Ooh,
shows how much appetite there is to learn about creative applications in AI. So that would
yeah.
be my top tip.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you. Well, funny. So for anyone looking to connect with you and with Spark, where is the best place to find you online?
Online, I am on LinkedIn, and so I'm just at Emma Wharton-Love on LinkedIn. And then there's a page for Spark as well, which is We Are Spark AI. And then, or just grab me on email, just Emma at
Brilliant.
wearespark.ai.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma. I'm going to put all those links in the notes. And I'll just say, I think this podcast will probably, when people listen, will be going out in November. So if they've missed the
I'd
October,
forgotten. Yeah.
I know. Well, I was just looking at my calendar now, just as you were saying that. But I guess there'll be one at the end of November, maybe. Or if not, we
Yeah,
can find the dates
there definitely will.
and do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think it's probably maybe not quite listed yet, but it will definitely be by the time that people are listening to this. Yeah, it will be end of November.
Brilliant. Well, Emma Wharton-Love, thank you so much for coming on Women with AI.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.